verse?
19. 18, 19.
An offended brother is more unyielding than a fortified city, and disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel.
All right. An offended brother is more unyielding than a fortified city. Is that true? You ever hear about the, you want to say the Clampets and the McCoys, but it was the Hatfields and the McCoys. You ever hear about the Hatfields and the McCoys?
Oh, yeah.
And what did it all start over?
Pig.
A pig. A $10 pig. And how many people died? Hundreds. And you know, they just settled it about 2 years ago.
Yep.
And they didn't really settle it. They just signed a truce to not shoot anymore. Nobody has decided that they were wrong or right, and nobody has said, let's just forget all this and forgive all this and go on about our business. Come on in.
Sorry.
It was your turn to read.
Oh.
We missed you Wednesday night.
Yeah, I went to a softball game. I went to Jeremy's softball game that night, so I figured compromise. He came here on Sunday to see me, so I thought I'd go to his softball game.
Okay.
I guess we see where we rank. With my awesome attendance record.
Matt?
Yep.
Hi.
Okay, do we put up walls?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, give me some examples. Do we put up walls?
I'm working on a literal one between my
I've got drywall for 6
yard
years.
fence.
Yeah, I nail up a lot of people for that kind of wall.
We do put up walls.
Jordan knows how to build board fence.
Build these walls, and what are we trying to protect?
Ourselves.
What are we trying to protect?
Our feelings, our pride,
Our heart.
Our deep, dark secrets.
Oh, yeah, that too. There's that.
You got a choice. You can share them with someone you trust, and you can both pray for victory. Or you can put up walls and hide in the closet and hope it all goes away. Is it going to go away? No, it's not going to go away. Do you have anybody that you can trust with the secret? That's the main thing. You know,
Trust the secret.
I ought to have I ought to have 12 people I can share my dark secrets with and have you pray for me so that I can be strengthened and have victory over those things. Do you have 12 people you can trust with that?
Hopefully.
Yes, we do here.
I was gonna say, hopefully I've got 12.
But we've never shared any of them with any of these 12.
Well, Brokeback Mountain, Josh. Josh shared his today.
No, he did his life fish.
I mean, who knew? You know what I mean? Who knew?
Once a week, Alicia's going to share her dark secret.
Hey, Josh.
Okay.
Share Josh's dark secret.
Stay the night, bro. We'll fix it tomorrow. I said, stay the night, bro. We'll fix it tomorrow.
You know.
How does he know the lines to it?
It's not allowed to that one.
They build fortified cities to keep the enemy out, but we build fortified cities to keep our secrets in. And a lot of times that contributes to our weakness and causes us to be failures as Christians. We ought to be open to share our needs, our spiritual needs with each other. But then we've been stabbed so many times, we've been wounded so many times, we shy away from that because we just don't want to get wounded again. And that is one of the There was a great conqueror, I think it was Alexander, but don't hold me to that. When it was all said and done, he looked back and he said, you know, the Christian armies are the only people I've met who shoot their own wounded. Think about that for a minute. The Christian armies are the only people I've met who shoot their own wounded. We come to the point where we can't trust each other. And it takes all the power out of the church. We need to somehow get that back. 20.
From the fruit of his mouth a man's stomach is filled. With the harvest from his lips he is satisfied.
All right. The fruit of the mouth, the man's stomach is filled. Is it talking about eating or is it talking about talking? And Matt said yes. Which one, Matt?
Talking.
Talking? I got one for talking. Talking about eating? It's using the stomach here to talk about the inner man, the inside the man. Okay. With the fruit of his mouth, his stomach is filled. All right. What if your mouth is negative? Does it apply then?
It's filled with negativity.
What?
It's filled with negativity.
Right.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have an
you'll be-
upset stomach.
yes, it
You want the
will.
poo-poos.
If your mouth is negative, you're going to live a negative life. You're going to live a paranoid life. You're going to live a life
Did you say the poo-poos?
The
when
puppies.
you are
Oh, they
not
didn't
going
get
to
the
be at
poo-poos.
peace. You're not going to sleep well. You're going to toss and turn and let the cares of the day eat you up. Don't do that. There was a professor one time that handed out a piece of paper, and it had a black dot in the middle of it, and he laid it out on all of his students' desks, and he said, write a essay about what you see on the paper. Okay. What do you think they all wrote about?
The black dots.
The black dot. How many think the black dot? How many think something else? How many don't think?
I don't think.
Oh, but I just think.
Every kid in class wrote about the black dot. Do you realize that on that particular piece of paper, there was 5,000 times more white than there was black? And none of them wrote about the white part of the paper. If you think about all your troubles on one hand and all your blessings on the other, which do you have more of? Blessings. Which do you think most of? The blessings or the black dot? We think about the darkness of our life. We think about the problems. We think about all the troubles we have. We think about the cost. We think about the future. And we worry about all of that stuff. And can you change any of that? Can I change anything that's going to happen tomorrow?
No.
No. What's going to happen if a tornado is going to take my house out tomorrow? It's going to take my house out tomorrow. I can't stop. Stock market Friday fell 530 points.
Yep.
Did you hear that? I didn't even know it until Friday night, and I went to sleep and woke up at 9:38 Saturday morning. Did not wake up to go to the bathroom or anything. Did not worry me for a minute, because the stock market does not take care of me. God takes care of me. And the day after the stock market fell 530 points, I don't know what my 401k did Friday. I don't care. It doesn't matter until December 31st what my 401k does. It doesn't matter. But the day after, my 401k got smacked by this drop, and it was all over the news. Everything Saturday was stock market, stock market, stock market. And yesterday I found the insurance policy and God gave me 14,000. Do you think the 401k hurt? Do you think the stock market affected me a bit? Yes, sir. But how many people in this world panicked, tossed and turned, didn't get a week's sleep Friday night because that stock market is their life and their future and everything they put their hope and faith in. God didn't change a bit. I slept like a baby. And if it takes my whole 401k, God's got a plan. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what the stock market does in my life. It doesn't matter. And I'm not going to think about it twice. But it was kind of interesting that we just talked about that, and then Friday it went boom, and lost more than it did in 1999. And the harvest of his lips he is satisfied. Not only do you get filled and nourished by whatever you say, whatever a man saith, so is he. There's a proverb, we haven't come to it yet, is it, whatever a man thinketh, so is he. Well, your mouth is controlled by your mind, okay? So if you think negative, you're going to have a negative life. If you think positive, you're going to have a positive life. There was a story about an old man that was being put in a nursing home. He got to where he just couldn't take care of his house or anything anymore. And he's sitting in the lobby, and the nurse comes by and says, "I'll take you to your room now. I'm sorry for the wait." He said, "I hope you like it." He said, "Oh, it's beautiful." She said, "Have you seen it?" He said, "No." He said, "Well, how do you know it's beautiful?" He said, "I'm going to be happy with it. It's beautiful." He said, "Well, how can you say that?" He said, "Because happiness is a choice." Happiness is a choice. And we have the choice every day to take whatever that is and be fed by it. And the harvest of his lips he is satisfied. Well, if you're a negative person, I can see that second half. If I'm a positive person and the harvest of my lips satisfies me. But what if I'm a negative person? Does the harvest of my lips still satisfy me?
Yeah, because they feed off of that negativity.
Okay, there's one. Jennifer said no. I caught that.
I don't know.
I don't think you'd be actually completely, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think
Satisfied.
I'd be completely happy, but
So I don't think you'd be satisfied.
I had a friend one time, he's divorced now, but him and his wife, I have never heard them. You know, usually people fight like crazy behind closed doors and then act nice in public. Well, they didn't. They fought like crazy 24 hours a day. And they had been married 25 years. And they absolutely were vicious with their tongues. And I mean to tell you, these two people went at it and went at it and went at it. And one of these days I said, I wonder how long they're going to be married. And a friend of mine said, oh, they're going to be married forever. I said, how in the world could you say something like that? He said, well, here's the way it is. He said, I'll give him two names. Okay, these are not your names. He said, well, Janie is not happy unless she's making Fred miserable. And Fred's not happy unless he's miserable. So they're a perfect couple. There are people like that. There are people who just feed off being miserable. Bonnie's right. There are people who just want to say the negative thing all the time. It's their message to the world. Have you ever known anybody that can't? Some guy drove by about 3 weeks ago, and I had just hoed the garden. And I was standing there, and I was real proud of it. And he stopped, and he said, "That's a pretty nice garden." I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "But you missed a weed over there in the beans."
Did you flip him off?
I had a hole in my hand. And I turned around and looked at him, and he just went to the dumpster. You know, you can do 1,000 things right. Nobody will notice. But you leave one weed in your beans, and everybody will stop and point to it.
It's all over.
Right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to walk up to you and say, "That looks great." Well, Josh did earlier in the spring. He said, "Boy, it's a beautiful garden." Everybody else said, "Oh, you missed a horseweed over there." Well, I'm not giving him any beans.
Did you?
I wouldn't either.
Did you pull the weed or did you leave it there because every time you drive by, you would drive back out crazy because you left the weed there?
Yeah,
Did you go and pull the weed or leave it there?
He drives by all the time.
Just leave
Did
the
you pull
weed.
the weed in the beans? Did you
Well,
pull?
yeah.
Okay.
Like I said in church one day, always misspell a word when you do the church bulletin,
Yeah.
because there's people who are always looking for mistakes, and we want them to be happy too. So just give us that.
That's my boss.
With the harvest of his lips, he is satisfied. You know, gossips are proud of what they do because they keep on doing it and get better at it all the time. But so are people who do good things. They feed off that as well. But both of them get their own brand of satisfaction out of what they do. If they didn't, they would quit doing it. You know, if I burned the first time I burnt my fingers trying to get a cookie sheet out of the oven taught me to wear a glove when I reach into the oven. And I quit sticking my hand in there. Now, if I keep sticking my hand in there, grabbing hold, either I'm the stupidest guy you ever met in your life, or I like painting. You know, if you don't enjoy it most of the time, quit doing it. Or there's something wrong with you mentally. 21.
The tongue can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences.
The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it. But then there's this old saying that said, "Sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you."
There's also liar, liar, pants on fire.
There's that one too.
Yeah, that saying is one of the most untrue sayings, because words do hurt worse than actual wounds. But you can say things that people will never get over or never
Forgive.
ever.
I love that commercial. What is
Yeah.
it? The Geico commercial. Words do hurt.
Here's a Geico commercial, words do hurt.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest pain in my life has not been over physical confrontations. It's been over something that someone said, a lie that someone told, some situation that caused me grief. I've been hurt far more by the tongue than I have by the fist. Far more and many more times. And anytime that I'm thinking back on some negative thing that happened to me, it's almost never physical. It's almost always verbal. It's just not true. A tongue has the power of life and death. Have you noticed any in the news concerning cyberbullying? All the suicides that are happening because of cyberbullying. You know, when I was a kid, if you were being bullied, you took it for a while because your mom told you that words that words will never hurt you. And then at some point in time, you punched him in the mouth or you hit him in the nose. And what happened after you hit the bully in the nose?
They quit. They quit.
He quit. This guy, Leroy Reeves, bullied me from the time I was in the 5th grade till the time I was a junior in high school. And finally, I had made this cherry desk, and I had this cherry desktop that had 4 coats of lacquer. And I was just put on my 5th coat of lacquer. I had just sanded it down, put on my 5th coat of lacquer. And Leroy walked in, picked up a handful of sawdust and threw it on my cherry desktop.
Oh,
No, we didn't.
And I turned around and put him flat on his back.
Good for you.
And the shop teacher walked in. And Leroy's laying there, blood running all over his face. And he looked at me and he said, "What's going on here?" And I took my hand and I pointed to my desktop. And he walked over and he looked at the desktop, turned around, grabbed Leroy by his shirt, picked him up, drug him out in the hall, and gave him a paddling. Never seen that work to me. How many times after that do you think Leroy bullied me? I'm sitting there thinking, why didn't I do this in the 6th grade?
You would have saved yourself a lot of trouble.
Yeah, a lot of grief.
A lot of sanding.
We do that last for the lacquer.
But the point is, at the point when we decide to walk away from it and not let it affect us anymore, or to confront it, that's when it is. If we keep running from it and running from, don't go out and punch your neighbor in the face.
Come on, that's what I heard.
I'm not telling you to go fight, but at some point we have to confront these things or they rule our lives. I lived in fear of Leroy Reeves for years. If I would see him coming down the hall, I would duck into a classroom that I didn't even have a class in, just to let him go by. And finally, at some point in time, I faced him, and I faced that fear, and I confronted him, probably not the way Jesus would have done it, although I don't know. He did clear out the temple. And it came to an end. We find out when we face our fears that they are not near as big as we thought they were going to be for all those years that we feared them. And you know, from that point on, no other bullies in Newcomerstown High School messed with me either. I mean, everything got real quiet because they realized that I just had enough. The tongue has the power of life and death. Leroy was always on my back about something. And at some point, I had to decide whether I was going to live a negative life or live a positive life, with or without him. Hey, 3 or 4 times after that, he would stop and have a decent conversation with me. It got to where we were almost friends because he had a respect for me.
And he was probably scared of you.
And those who love it will keep those. What'd you say?
He probably was scared of you too. He was probably scared that you were going to hit him again. Because I'm sure he had it coming to him a lot more than just once.
I wasn't a fighter. When I got married, when I got out of the Army, I weighed more than I'd ever weighed in my life, and I weighed 145 pounds. I was in high school, I was probably 6'3" and weighed 120, 130.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's what I weighed in the 3rd grade.
There wasn't anybody in that school that was afraid of Bill Bitter. gain some respect from it. And those who love it will eat of its fruit. What are the consequences of the gossip?
Rumors get spread.
Oh,
Rumors get spread.
Rumors get spread.
People get hurt.
But for them, for the gossip, what are the consequences?
Nowadays, none.
Huh?
Nowadays, none.
I think there is, though. I think that the gossip spends his time being afraid that somebody's going to gossip about him.
Usually.
Have you ever noticed that a person that has a problem is always pointing to that same problem in other people's lives? The gossip is always saying, that Dawn never quits gossiping. And you know, you look at her and you think, Dawn? Have you never heard your mouth open? A liar is always accusing other people of being the biggest liar in the world. The biggest curse of a liar is he can't believe anybody else. He thinks everybody's lying like he does. And that's what it's saying here. It's saying we receive the consequences of what we do. If I have a vicious tongue, I am constantly on guard against other people's vicious tongues. Basically it goes down to we reap what we sow. What goes around comes around. There's a million different cliches you can throw in there. But basically what we're willing to give is what we're going to receive. Consequently, the guy with a wholesome tongue, the guy that does good deeds, the guy that is generous, he receives all those things in return. Now there's a verse that says we receive them mashed down, pressed together, overflowing greater than that which we are able to contain. And we always kind of apply that to our tithe. But it doesn't just apply to our tithe. It applies to the words that come out of our mouths. If I have wholesome speech, you know, I don't know how many times I've walked into the barber shop and everybody knew I was a minister here in town. And they'd be right in the middle of telling a dirty joke of some kind, and everybody just quit talking. Everything would get quiet. Because they knew that I preached sermons, and I didn't have to sit in the barber shop and listen to dirty jokes. Now, I'm sure that the minute I walked out the door, they finished the joke. But for me, what I received from it is I received peace. People did not challenge that. And we got to go.